All right. Call to order the Kodiak Island Borough Planning and Zoning Commission regular meeting of Wednesday, April 19th, 2023. Start with a pledge of allegiance.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. I think I did that out of memory. The agenda in front of me is from the work session. So we'll do roll call next. Bronwyn?
Mr. Schmidt? Mr. Van Dyke?
Here? Thank you.
Mr. Cross?
Here?
Mr. Paulson?
Here.
Ms. Johnson? Here. Mr. Neff?
Here.
You have a quorum?
Thank you. Entertain a motion to approve the agenda.
I make a motion to approve the agenda.
I second it.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Next, we'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes.
I move to approve the minutes for March 15th regular meetings.
Thank you very much.
Second.
Thank you. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Move on to citizen comments. Citizen comments is limited to 3 minutes per speaker. Local phone number is 907-486-3231. The toll-free number is 855-492-9202. Comments are for general topics only. Give the call-in people a minute, but if we see any call-ins, we'll stop for that. But other than that, we'll move on to the public hearing. Case number S23-013. Is there a motion?
Can I move to adopt already or just to move to, what's the motion for, sorry?
There's a motion already on the floor, so maybe we'll just go into staff report.
Case S23013 before you was postponed by this commission on March 15th, 2023, to give the applicant more time to come up with a new parking plan. After chatting with Mr. Mahoney, it appears that assessing did not update the property owners from a deed that was recorded in 2021, changing ownership from Mill Bay Investments to Ed and Cammie Mahoney. According to the email that Mr. Mahoney provided on Monday, Mr. Mahoney does not believe that Lot 22 was ever in a parking violation situation because he owns Lot 23 and 24, and according to KIB code, can use those lots as KIBC 17175-050 makes him compliant in zoning compliance, if zoning compliance is approved. Mr. Mahoney did ask for the commission to approve the parking on Lot 22 to be on now Lot 23 after subdivision. It would be Lot 23A because KIBC 17175-050 is in effect since he owns that lot also. Staff and the P&Z Commission cannot just be looking at things today without realizing that all our decisions have an impact on the future. Mr. Mahoney has stated that he wants to build on proposed Lot 23A, but we have no idea what he wants to build and if he will need the additional parking that Lot 22 will take up. That Lot 23 will take up. If Mr. Mahoney sells proposed Lot 28, then what happens to the parking for Lot 22? Mr. Mahoney's answer to that question was buyer beware when I asked him that. Bottom line is that Mr. Mahoney did not build on Lot 22 according to the zoning compliance he submitted and did not include parking. We cannot assume that compliance will continue on proposed Lot 23A unless we secure parking for Lot 22 at the time of subdivision. Neither staff nor the commission is denying Mr. Mahoney this subdivision. Staff is simply asking that the commission approve the subdivision with the 6 conditions of approval in the report. How the commission would like to see the conditions are met is up to the commission.
Thank you. Any questions for staff? All right. Seeing no questions for staff at this time. Yeah, go ahead, Ken. Absolutely.
So is it fair to say that Mr. Mahoney does not think he needs to do anything to secure parking for the existing building on Lot 22?
He does not believe. He said that if the parking plan that he submitted was like a picture of, he had written in that they could park on lot, what is now 23, but proposed lot 23A, by using that property because of 17-175-50, which says you can use it if you're contiguous and it's the same owner. I believe that we should do a change to that code and say that it should be for a limited time, no matter who it is, because while it's all fine and dandy to say you can use it as contiguous, what if something sells? And that's not something that we take into consideration ever, but, people do sell. If that property sold, we would not know until after the fact. It's not like Mr. Mahoney would come to us and go, hey, I'm selling this, so now I'm going to put an easement in, or now I'm not, he's going to sell the property as anybody would do. I'm not singling him out saying that he would do anything wrong, but anybody could sell that property, and he could sell lot 22 without it being in zoning compliance, or he could sell lot proposed 23A without having parking for 22. Then lot 22 is just left. Where are they going to park?
Thank you.
All right, we'll go ahead and close the regular meeting, open up public hearing. Go ahead, Bronwyn.
There is a call on the
All right,
line, so I'm just.
we'll go ahead and
We're
take it.
now answering a call from the queue.
Hello, you're calling the Kodiak Island Borough Planning and Zoning Commission meeting?
I
Please,
certainly am.
please state your
Is that
name for the
Mahoney?
record.
Ed Mahoney.
All right, Ed, we're just about ready to close the regular meeting, open up public hearing, so you're perfectly in line. Go ahead and make
Very
your
good.
comments.
It's good to be in line. There is, unfortunately, this has turned into a very bumpy road for a very simple procedure. To avoid the acrimony and the time that we could get involved in doing this, I would like to put this off until the June work session where I can be there in person. There's a lot of misinformation, a lot of emails have gone back and forth, and I'm not in a position to defend myself here. Mr. Mahoney is not going to sell that lot. I would get my butt sued off. There's a disclosure of property that has to be filled out when someone buys something, and I am not in a position to get sued. So to take care of some of these issues, I mean, it's pretty simple, but I'd like to have you put this off until the June work session where I can be there in person.
Thank you, Ed.
Thank you.
All
Have a
right.
good evening.
All right. Any other public comments? Anybody from the audience? All right, we'll close the public hearing and reopen the regular meeting. Discussion from the commission. Go ahead, Chris.
Do I just make a motion to postpone? Yeah.
That works for me.
Yeah. I make a motion to postpone this case until the June work session. Yes. Oh.
Is there a second?
I second it.
All right. Any questions, comments, discussions on the motion? Kent?
Yeah, I disagree with postponing it. I don't know, we've looked at this from every angle, and the bottom line is that the applicant didn't follow the proper process to begin with. So at this point, I would choose to postpone the preliminary approval. The option 2 in the, I think is the course that is in my opinion, the course we should take under recommendations. And there's option 1 and option 2. And option 2 is move to postpone the preliminary approval of the vacation of lot 23 and 4, block 1, blah, blah, blah. And additionally, the following corrections should be updated on the preliminary plat before submitting to the Community Development Department for approval. And the first item there is the applicant must apply for zoning compliance for parking for lot 22. I mean, staff can jump in here, but that covers, that second proposal pretty much covers what needs to be done. I don't know why we should postpone it and continue to talk about it. Well, with all due respect, Chris, I mean, I'm not, I think we should go ahead and move forward with this so that the applicant has a clear understanding of what he needs to do for us to approve it. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Kent. The motion on the floor is to postpone it to the June meeting, and I'll allow a little bit of commentary, as you did, Kent, to kind of get some clarification on that, because we didn't have discussion before the motion. Any other commentary? Any other discussion? Court?
Yeah, that's, I tend to agree with Commissioner Cross on his take there, but I'm kind of a little bit, that's a more of a feeling type thing. I feel everybody deserves his day in court. If somebody would like to express, if you can come up with some things in writing to, or some reasoning and to justify that, and I do understand that being in person does make a difference. So I guess I feel just kind of my own personal preference, what I would like for myself. Sometimes I would like that opportunity to be in person, and going by somebody is innocent until proven guilty type thing. I would tend to go with the postponement still.
All right, thank you, Court. And I'll just say that the motion that is in the staff report to postpone doesn't have a date specific. And I think that some of the commentary that's in this staff report can be captured to staff right now in this discussion of the motion to postpone. I appreciate Chris's motion because it's date certain and it provides a deadline too. But Seema, did you have a comment?
So I just wanted to let you know that Mr. Mahoney did apply for zoning compliance for Lot 22 on 17-175-50. And so staff would ask for clarification from the commission at this point as to whether we say we cannot approve this until the staff makes or to the commission makes a decision on this, or how you want us to do that, because he applied, I want to say yesterday, for zoning compliance for Lot 22 using 17-175-50.
That's a different question than the motion to postpone, and we can have a little bit of commentary after we address this. But is there any other commissioners have anything to say about the motion to postpone?
So there is a date specific one in there, after the or, because I need the applicant to be able to provide updated information by a date. So if you look at the second one, move to postpone, at the bottom in red it says, can you pull that up? 44 of 189 or 11 of 132, I don't know. Do you see that, Paul? So date specific, we just need the information to be provided to community development timely so that we're not doing like we did last time and just supplying you with stuff that's not in the agenda.
Yeah, this doesn't have a page number on it. I apologize, but I'm looking at the raw thing there. But the motion I was looking at here, and I assumed that was the one that Kent was looking at, says insert date here. So, but we have a motion to postpone to the June meeting. So that gives staff 2 months, May and June, to work with the applicant.
Right, we just want to make sure that the applicant, so that you do it on these conditions also, that the applicant must provide the updated preliminary plat to community development no later than May 31st, if that's what you're requiring.
And so I would turn to the person who made the motion and ask them if they want to amend their motion, or if there's been sufficient discussion to give direction to the applicant. Sorry, Chris, I'm putting it on you.
No, that's okay. So yeah, Commissioner Cross, I do like the idea of adding a little bit more specificity into our postponement such that they know, the applicant knows what we're going to be looking at when they come in. I think that's what Commissioner Cross was talking about. So I'd be willing to update my motion to this language here.
Read it in for the record.
Yes, so I'd like to make, what did I say, update my motion?
An amendment.
Oh, I'd like to amend my motion, the move to postpone the preliminary approval of the vacation of Lot 23 and Lot 24, Block 1 Air Park Subdivision Plat 1964-14, U.S. Survey 1396, Kodiak Recording District, Kodiak, Alaska, and replat to Lot 23A, Block 1 Air Park Subdivision, U.S. Survey 1396, Kodiak Recording District, Kodiak, Alaska, until the easement for Lot 22 is recorded and shown on the preliminary map. Additionally, the following correction should be updated on the preliminary plat before submitting to the Community Development Department for approval at the regular meeting on
There's a calendar right there.
June
21st?
21st, 2023. The applicant must apply for zoning compliance for parking for Lot 22, Block 1 Air Park, AKA 1615 Mill Bay Road. Subdivision name shall be corrected to Air Park, KIBC 16.50.020, 1010, name of subdivision. Plat description should state that this is a vacation of lots 23 and 24 and replat to lot 23A. All references to this addresses and tax ID numbers shall be removed. 4, the surveyor's certificate shall follow KIBC 16.50.050C for surveying and remove all verbiage referencing as-built. 5, the final plat must be submitted for a courtesy final review before final plat is printed for recording.
Thank you. Cord, I think you seconded Chris's original motion? Was that correct?
Yes.
Yes, and I can second that one, too.
All right. Would you turn your mic on?
I second the motion that's on the floor.
Motion to amend?
To amend, yes. Motion to amend. Thank you.
It's okay. Any discussion on the motion to amend?
What SEMA's showing up there is different than what we just read. There's line 2, I believe, needs to be included, doesn't it?
That's,
Go ahead. Jump in.
I think that's the second option. He was reading the first option. It's, just about that.
Yeah. Yes, the one I'm seeing on, and I apologize again, what page this is. There's not a page. This is the second page of the staff report.
So the one in the agenda notes is different than the one on the website. That's the difference. We have an insert date here. They have an actual date. Theirs is highlighted in red. We don't have that red text.
I just printed this off of the.
5 items and I have,
Yeah, yours looks
I
different.
have 6.
Okay.
So,
Mine is just like Chris's. so-
Yeah.
Yeah, here.
And I just loaded it up today.
So
I
we
just
have a
printed
motion,
mine.
we have a motion to amend. Does anybody have, because we're motioning to amend, we're still going to bring this, if that passes, is it still going to come forward in the June work session? So, if you guys want to continue to discuss it tonight and try to wordsmith the motion, we can, or we can move it to June and see how far the applicant has made. But I'm going to give Chris a little bit of time to,
Yeah, let me just compare the differences.
you take your time.
So that's the same.
This was inserted, and I think
Oh,
everything else got
okay.
pushed down.
I would like to amend my motion. Is that what I do?
If you make it really succinct.
Yes. So I would like to add a sixth item, and that is, the applicant must provide the updated preliminary plat to community development no later than May 31, 2023.
All right. Is there a second of the amendment to the amendment?
Second.
All right, thank you, Chris, thank you, Kent.
Let's do it.
That makes more sense now.
All right, any other discussion? So we'll do a roll call vote on the most recent amendment.
Mr. Cross?
Yes.
Mr. Van Dyke?
Yes.
Ms. Johnson?
Yes.
Mr. Neff?
Yes.
Mr. Paulson?
Yes.
Would anyone like to change their vote? Motion passes 6-0.
All right. 6 or 5?
5-0.
Just making sure I can count. So now we have the original amendment to the motion. So you can take a roll call vote on that, Bronwyn, thank you.
Mr. Van Dyke?
Yes.
Ms. Johnson? Sorry.
It's Miss Johnson.
Sorry.
Yes.
Mr. Neff?
Yes.
Mr. Paulson?
Yes.
And Mr. Cross?
Yes.
Would anyone like to change their vote? Motion passes 5-0.
All right, now we have the original motion to postpone. Can we get a roll call vote on that, please?
Ms. Johnson?
Yes.
Mr. Neff?
Yes.
Mr. Paulson?
Yes.
Mr. Cross?
Yes.
Mr. Van Dyke?
Yes.
Would anyone like to change their vote? Motion passes 5-0.
Thank you, Bronwyn. All right. Moving on to the next agenda item. Case number S23-015. I entertain a motion.
I'm loading up.
I would like to make a move to deny the rezoning of Lot 26A USS 3098 from R1 Single Family Residential District to B Business Zoning District, not move it forward to the Kodiak Island Borough Assembly, and adopt the findings of fact for Case 23-015 listed in the staff report dated April 14, 2023.
Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Chris. Thank you, Kent. All right, staff report, please.
Case 23015, applicant Cole Trust, James Cole trustee, is requesting a rezone from R1 Single Family Residential to Business District. This is the third time since 2017 that Mr. Cole has requested this rezone. In 2017, the P&Z Commission approved the rezone, but the Borough Assembly denied it. In 2019, the P&Z Commission denied it, and the case did not go forward to the Assembly. Both cases have been summarized in your staff report. Unfortunately, not much has changed for Mr. Cole or that neighborhood, or the fact that right now Mr. Cole is out of zoning compliance, as in the site visit, the property is being used for outdoor storage. This is a violation of use for that zone. The application has no request for rezone due to its current use. In July 2022, Mr. Cole had applied for a zoning compliance permit to build a 40 by 60 residential building with an ADU and a home business. According to Building and Safety, Mr. Cole did not supply plans for approval, and the zoning compliance is now expired. 4 letters from the public have been received asking for denial of this request. 2 of the letters were just received yesterday and are on your, are not in the packet, but were supplied to you. Staff is recommending denial of the rezone due to most of the same reasons it was denied in 2017 and 2019. With pulling the zoning compliance, it appears Mr. Cole has options for using the lot in compliance with the R1 zoning.
Thank you, Seema. Any questions for staff?
I'll make a, well, never mind.
No questions for staff. We'll go ahead and close the regular meeting and open up the public hearing. If you'd like to be heard, please come to the podium, sign in, turn on the microphone, and state your name. or you can call in. The local number is 907-486-3231, or toll-free 855-492-9202.
Yes, can you hear this? Yeah, this is Jim Cole, and I had applied for the zoning compliance recently. There is a...
Jim, I apologize. Is the, you project really well, but is the green light on?
Yeah, it looks like it's on.
Okay.
Oh, there you go.
Yep. Thank you.
Okay, is that too loud?
No, not at all.
Okay, anyway, we had some trouble. 3 years ago, we applied for a zoning compliance, and there was an individual living right across the street, Mr. Anderson. And he gathered petitions from all the neighbors because he didn't want it across the street from his house based on the assumption there'd be too much traffic. Well, it wasn't too much longer after it was denied that he sold his house and moved. So we thought, well, now that there is a group in the neighborhood that's obviously going to stay there, not cause problems and leave, we thought that we would again apply for a change in the zoning. There was a set of plans, engineered plans, submitted to the building department. And they've been there for quite some time. They've held off on them because of this action that we're taking now. The set of plans have a living quarter on one end, and then they have an open workshop. And we had talked to the building department about making a change there so we could include a residence at the opposite end of the shop. And that would enable us to live there. We would have a little bit of rental income, and the shop would be enough so that there would be no vehicles out exposed the way they are. That way in the wintertime, a person would have a place to work on them. I don't think that there's any inconvenience or harm that would be caused to the neighborhood by granting the zoning compliance. It would seem that the person should be able to enjoy a parcel of land that they own. And I was advised to seek the zoning compliance into the business. That way I could have a rental at one end, have a shop, move everything inside, and then have a residence there. And it's unfortunate that we don't have more constitutionalists that would understand that, but be that as it may. So if there's any questions, I'd like to address them.
Thank you, Jim. Any questions? All right.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you. All right. Any calls, Bronwyn? Okay. We will close the public hearing and reopen the regular meeting. Commission discussion.
So my question is based on, well, my discussion is, it sounds like he wants to build a residence there. I guess, was there anything in his comments that suggested that it has to be zoned business for that to happen? That was my only thought.
So I was confused because I think he was confusing some of his words. So he was saying we applied for zoning compliance, and he really meant that he applied for a rezone. The zoning compliance that I saw that was approved and now is expired was approved to have a residence, an ADU, and a shop. So I'm a little, I mean, I didn't bring that paperwork with me, but it was approved. I mean, it went through a lengthy approval period. It was denied, approved, but it did get to the point where it passed through zoning compliance and community development. If I understood Mr. Cole right, he said that that Building and Safety didn't approve the plans because now he was in the rezone process. So, is that correct?
We had suggested they wait on it because we wanted
So,
Because of the fact we wanted to rent the ADU out.
Jim, if you would come up to the mic, we just want to get that on the record, please. Thank you.
Yeah, it was submitted.
Thanks.
Oh, there we go. Okay, don't yell into the microphone. Anyway, when it was submitted originally, the residence portion was actually too large to be an ADU. And that was brought to my attention, and then I suggested that, well, could we have it as an apartment and then have our residence at the other end? And he said that that would be okay, but we would have to get a zoning compliance. In other words, we'd have to change the use. Yeah, a person could, in other words, I could build a residence on the end of the shop area, but I would have to downsize the rental part. And then when I'm renting it, then there could be some people complaining, oh, he's got a rental there. And I didn't want to get into any more situations than we currently have. And I figured it would be good to iron them out now.
Chris, did you get your question answered?
So it sounds like the issue is that the ADU was too large and that it brought it into a multifamily sort of situation.
Exactly,
which requires
exactly. It
a business.
became apartments then.
Okay.
Yeah, and we didn't, that wasn't our goal, but, you know, I'm 77, it'd be nice to have a little extra income. And having the shop area between our residence and the other living quarter, it seemed like a good idea. But we all have differing opinions on what's a good idea.
Go ahead, Court.
So what's, to prevent you from just having an ADU and being able to rent that out, is that against the code? No.
Can an
So you
ADU
just
be
have-
rented out?
Yeah.
Okay, then what we could do that would probably, I mean, it seems a little unnecessary, but that's, of course, my opinion. But we could downsize the, what is being called the ADU, so it does meet that requirement.
so it conforms.
Yeah, and then we could still put our residence at the other end.
The ADU only has to be attached is the requirement for R1.
Right, but the ADU is limited by size.
Right.
Versus in the business district, there are single-family and two-family dwellings allowed if the, contained within the structure, permitted for business use not exceeding 50% of the area of the structure.
Yeah, and the one thing on it too, that the portion that was drawn in as a living area to start with, you know, was fine for me, but it's only one bedroom. And my wife goes, well, man, I thought, okay, look, we'll build a residence on the other end of the building. Mm-hmm. So that's where we're at.
Any questions for staff or for the applicant? Go ahead, Kent.
Seema, you said that presently that property is out of compliance.
It is. It's being used for outdoor storage, which is not in the R1.
So
Yeah, but everything that's stored there is mine, period.
Let's fit
So
Commissioner Cross finish.
the way I see it, if I could click my fingers and it happened, there'd be code to say that before somebody can come before this body and suggest a rezoning or whatever, that the property be presently in compliance with zoning regulations. And so I'm going to vote against this just because it's not presently in compliance.
It is in compliance. That's what I just told you. Everything on there is mine. If I want to store my skip there or a vehicle that I own on that lot, that's in compliance.
Well,
If I was renting storage, I would say it would be different, but I'm not renting storage.
Thank you, Jim. I'm gonna defer to staff and let staff provide commentary on that.
I mean, you can look at the pictures, and that's what we're going by, so.
And there's, no, I'm not gonna ask that question. But outdoor storage,
And if I had the structure, then they wouldn't be sitting out to where people go, well, what's he storing there? What's he doing? Those are my vehicles, my skiffs.
Right. Outdoor storage is not listed as a permitted use or conditional use under R1 zone, to answer your question, but, so. Any other questions, Kent?
No.
Is that it?
Any other questions on this side? All right. I'll just provide a little commentary here. Yeah, I understand exactly what Mr. Cross is referring to, and I think that is it's not in the code to require people to be in compliance before they apply for something else, but I think that is kind of signaling. The other thing that is a little concerning, and maybe staff can help me out with this, is that when we rezone a piece of property, we don't rezone it to a specific use. We rezone it to a zone. The specific use is contained in zoning compliance permit when they apply to use it in a particular way. So by rezoning a piece of property, as the applicant has said, he has a specific intention, but it could be a movie theater. Doesn't matter. Business is business. And we don't get to say what he can and can't do with his property unless it falls under a conditional use permit. But other than that, it's handled at the staff level.
Correct, and I think that was in the staff report too. While it might be his intent to do that, there's nothing that if he sold it, a dry cleaners couldn't go in there, or a garage or something that, and it's part of that whole look into the future and protecting ourselves for the future just by not, looking at it, the big picture.
And so I think that may be, again, to your point, Mr. Cross, about, being in compliance to move forward, but we also don't have a tool to say we can grant the applicant exactly what he wants and then stick it to him and make him, and so I'm just saying that for discussion at the commission level, that it's hard for us to, we only have one piece of that. Any other discussion, Chris?
So the key fact I look at in this case is that the applicant's desire is out of step with the actual request that's before the commission. So he's asking for a business when he actually wants an R2 or a R1 with a residence and a zoning, or a residence and an ADU. So I agree with the motion that I have on the floor still. It's not what the applicant really wants. He doesn't want a business. He wants an R2 or an R1 with an ADU. So that's my discussion.
Thank you, Chris. Appreciate that. All right. Any other discussion? Otherwise, we'll go with a roll call vote. And, Brom, if you want to restate the motion, just so we're clear.
Okay, that's good.
Yes, thank you, Jim.
Okay,
Appreciate
thank
your
you.
time. You restate the motion. Just so we're clear what a yes vote means and a no vote.
So the motion on the floor right now is move to deny the rezone of Lot 26A USS 3098 from RR1 Single Family Residential
Nope.
to B Business Zoning District, not to move it forward. R1 Single Family Residential to B Business Zoning District, not to move it forward to the Kodiak Island Borough Assembly, and adopt the finding of fact for case at 23-015 listed in the staff report dated April 17th, 2023.
All right.
April 14th, the staff report.
Thank you. Is everybody clear about what a yes vote means and a no vote?
A yes is to deny, yes.
Correct. All right. We'll take a roll call vote.
Mr. Van Dyke?
Yes.
Ms. Johnson?
Yes.
Mr. Neff?
Yes.
Mr. Paulson?
Yes.
And Mr. Cross?
Yes.
Would anyone like to change their vote? Motion passes 5-0.
All right. Thank you, Bronwyn. All right. Next case is case number 23-016. Entertain a motion. I'm not going to read the whole thing. I'll let the motion maker read the whole thing.
Okay.
Go ahead, Court.
Move to approve the issuance of conditional use permit to allow a detached 724.40 square foot ADU on Russian Creek Estates, Lot 10B, commonly known as 12816 Notch Drive, with the following conditions of approval. Provide evidence that the landowner of this site, not just the applicant, has both physical and legal access that is not limited to a 5-year duration on the U.S. Coast Guard permit in order to serve a proposed development that will, for all intents and purposes, be permanent. Provide written approval from the Army Corps of Engineer addressing potential erosion of stream banks due to shifting of channels. Provide written approval from the Alaska Department of Fish and Game since Russian Creek is an anadromous stream. Provide written confirmation from the Alaska Department of Fish and Game that the improvement is not located in the riparian area. Provide written approval from the U.S. Coast Guard for construction of improvement due to the access. So I've been seeing the numbers. Number 6, provide evidence that the building can and will be served by Women's Bay Fire Protection District. Number 7, applicant must provide walking access to the ADU from the existing driveway, which access onto the padded Notch Drive Road. I think we got a couple of misspellings, but that's no big deal, I guess. As access to the proposed new driveway over Coast Guard property does not comply with KIBC 17.160.070 D3, KIBC 17.160.070 D8, and KIBC 17.160.070 D10, applicant must provide documentation of water and wastewater disposal approved by ADEC to community development. And adopt the findings of fact for case 23-016 listed in the staff report dated April 14th, 2023.
All right. Is there a second?
Second.
All right. Staff report, please.
Case 23016 is a new case for the CUP for a detached ADU. In December 22, 2022, this case came before you attached to a variance. This is no longer the case and should be considered as a new CUP. The email submitted by Mr. Sibro could be considered as fulfilling some of the conditions in the approval motion on page 122 of 149 in your packet, if the commission chooses to do so. At issue would still be the water and wastewater disposal. State requirements for septic systems near waterway was added to your packet. Between the waterway and the high water table, the septic system may be at issue per code, water supply and wastewater disposal. The accessory dwelling unit must have a bathroom and shall share the same sewage disposal and water supply systems. In example, a well and septic system or connection to public water or sewer as the principal dwelling unit. And emergency providers. So, okay, the emergency providers access is still an issue for me, but this is for the commission to decide. Both an approval motion and the denial motion was provided and would need to be amended as the commission see fit on whether some of those conditions have been met or not. Staff believes that an additional condition for sewage disposal and water supply should be added if the commission approves the CUP.
Any questions for staff at this time? Go ahead, Kent.
So there still is no, as you understand, there's no access or no plan for how emergency vehicles would access the ADU or that area.
So from the work session, I believe that this is where the applicant and I have a difference of opinion on what that email actually said. The Woman's Bay, it was Dave Conrad, did say that he would not go on the unplatted road, that sometimes there's problems on the platted road because of the conditions of the road in Woman's Bay, that he would even be able to get to the applicant's house on a bad day, but that he would not go on the unplatted road. The applicant did put on his new plan that the parking and access would come down that hill, which satisfies our parking issue, which was one of my bigger issues from before, and that has been taken care of with him using the parking at the top, using the same parking that he has now, and then doing stairs or whatever he's going to do to access the ADU. But I don't believe that the email states that the fire department will access the unplatted Coast Guard Road. The fire department has no say, do build, don't build, and I think that when Mr. Conrad said at the end, he was just like, we're not objecting to the building. He was just saying that we're not objecting to the building because he doesn't have a right to object or not. No fire department does, whether you're in the city or out there. But he's just saying that he is not going to go on the Coast Guard Road, which is unplatted, to access that property. He can from the top. And with Mr. Sibrel doing the steps and stuff like that, I mean, our fire departments will go down 12 steps, go across a mile, go up 12 steps, whatever they need to do, they will do it that way.
Thank you.
All right, if there's no other questions for staff, we will close the regular meeting, open the public hearing. And if you'd like to be heard, please come to the podium, sign in, turn on the microphone, state your name. You can call in. The local number is 907-486-3231, toll free 855-492-9202.
Good evening. This is Chris Sibrel. Thank you as always, commissioners, for your time. Appreciate it. Also, thanks for the motion to approve. I did have a few comments, though. I really appreciate the support to approve. Some of these things I believe may be difficult to come up with, so I was hoping to go through them, but one by one, just to make sure that we're all on the same page. Item number one, that I get permission from the Coast Guard over 5 years. I'm proposing that instead, since this is for the ADU, and access to the ADU will be from item number 7, that item number 1 is struck. For one reason is I'm happy to keep item number 7 and build stairs and have that as a condition of my conditional use permit. But also statutorily, if that's the right word, Coast Guard cannot issue anything past 5 years. In fact, I can give an example where 2 laws went through Congress to get a piece of land in Women's Bay just because Coast Guard could not give past 5-year term, and the people who wanted that land were much more powerful than me, so I can't get laws through Congress to get this land. Item number 2, hopefully the Planning and Zoning Commission, as well as the Planning Department, can take the email in here from Army Corps of Engineers that they do not provide citizens consulting or advising on stream bed erosion, especially on onesie-twosie houses, maybe on bigger developments, as is documented in the package that you have in front of you. However, item number 3, the Game and Fish does provide consulting. They've got a really good stream bed restoration project guide where you can use local woody vegetation to plant, willows mostly, and they've got a lot of success stories. They also have a consultant out of Anchorage that will provide help and a local consultant. The land, that if there was an issue with erosion, it's not currently my land, but since I'm no longer asking for variance. I still have a setback to deal with if there was an issue. In addition, I've already cut some willows to plant on my neighbor's land, if they're willing. So I'm open to that. Number 4, the Game and Fish doesn't tell me if it's a riparian area or not, but in your package here, there's a map from, I don't know what page it is on, the brown one, but there's a map, it's a printout from, I think it's U.S. Fish and Wildlife. You access it through the Army Corps' website, but U.S. Fish and Wildlife gives you a digital map, and it shows that I'm not in a riparian area, but I can't produce it from Alaska Department of Fish and Game. They don't produce that. Number 5, the Coast Guard isn't going to give me approval to build what I want on my land. It's my land. They don't do that. However, in your package there's an email from me on my original request for my 5-year access, stating fully and completely my intentions that match the intentions shown in this package. And as for Women's Bay Fire District, just as to remind the committee, I don't know, Brown, if you can show the pictures of my lot, there may be, there isn't at that time, but there's a 16-foot trailer. At times I have a 40-foot boat trailer in there. I can get in there with no four-wheel drive, no rough treatment. It's flat, level, and as a reminder, fire trucks don't care who owns what land. It's flat, level, and it will be more so if approved as a bonus, but I don't believe it's required because I believe I'm meeting all borough code for an ADU by making stairs down the hill and providing parking in my driveway. And the well and septic, no problem there. I have measured from the river. I'm at least 100 feet to put the septic there. I'm happy to have that condition. So if some of these are written in a way that I can't meet them, but nearly every one of them is close, or I've gone to great efforts to meet the desires of the commission from the meeting in December. That's all I had.
Thank you, Chris. We'll wait. Is there any other public comments? All right, we're going to close the public hearing and reopen the regular meeting, and we'll start with commission discussion. And it sounds like Mr. Neff may have a comment or a question.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So, Chris,
Go ahead and turn your mic on.
Sorry.
Yep.
Oh, thanks, Paul. Have you considered the possibility of what options do you have if for some reason they cut off road access as far as, I'm not really concerned about the fire myself, and I'll say why in a bit, but you want to use that shop, you want to use that access, obviously, that's the best way to do that, is that road for, boats or whatever. It's not, you don't have any current driveway coming from the front to the back to that area, so, from what I see, that would be not a desirable place to have a shop without some kind of access like that. So have you considered, for some reason, if that road was just closed down, nobody would be able to use it, what your options would be?
Yeah, sure. It would make a fine wood shop. You just spend a little more energy coming and going. It would no longer be a place I could park my boat. But I think the risk is pretty low. That road has been open to a water plant for the Navy since World War II. So I think after the last 80, 90 years, there's a good precedent that it's unlikely that anybody cares enough to touch it. Plus, I personally work for the Coast Guard, and from my opinion, they don't have a lot of interest in it one way or the other. So it is possible, but it would still be a shop where you pack lumber up and down the hill, or you work out a deal with the neighbor nearby.
Yeah, that's what I was looking at. I thought maybe an easement. You just need a little bit of an easement on the guy's property for something, yeah. Okay, just wonder if you consider that. And then as far as the fire, okay, I don't think I have any questions for you now. I don't know, should I just let somebody else question them? Or
Go ahead.
should I say? Okay, as far as the fire access, I'm starting to realize what we have here is, we're looking at the legal things, which I appreciate, kind of a literal sense, but the law isn't, to me, the law of the land is the comprehensive plan. That's what we've been told over and over again. We say the comprehensive plan is the law of the land. And that has been satisfied by a lack of complaints. Nobody's complained. Fits in with the idea of creating affordable housing. And so common sense tells me the fire, as Mr. Seabrook pointed out last time, I think, it was very good. I appreciate that he pointed out. It's like he's got better access even without that road than half the lots there. I mean, it's at least as good or better than average. That's the average there, just with the access from what I see. It's just a short little climb over a hill from a pretty good access from the main notch, the access he already has. So I think that we need to have common sense about things too and just say, hey, what are we really helping, what are we really changing? And in addition to that, he has the option of using that area, and it has a river there, so that makes it like 10 times better if that option is used than almost 95% of all the lots. So to me, the fire thing is totally satisfied if you just use common sense, even emergency vehicles. That's my take on that part. A little bit of, that was just a little bit of apprehension about the access in that if you 5 years or 2 years from now you sold that and they were under the impression, oh great, I could drive my boat around on this road and this and that. For some reason, it did change that they weren't aware they might get stuck with having to figure out an easement or something. Other than that, I think everything else looks pretty good myself. That's all I got.
Thank you, Court. Any other? Go ahead, Chris.
So I plan to still participate and vote on this motion. I just wanted to let everyone know, unless someone has an objection, but the applicant invited me to apply to a job out of his department on base, but I don't think he's going to make it dependent on how I vote in this meeting. So I'm just letting everyone know if anybody has an objection to me participating.
That does present a problem, Chris. It'd be difficult to be objective if he's going to be your supervisor.
Yeah.
I mean,
No, it's fine. I just wanted to know.
and that's, to your credit, that's, I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, if Commissioner Cross has that objection, then yeah, I will not participate or vote. That's okay.
Thank you, Chris. Appreciate your honesty and forthcomingness. Any other questions or discussion? Go ahead, Kent.
How far is the building, I scrolled through this again, and how far is the building from the edge of the creek?
Roughly 40 feet.
And the DNR did not give you any guidance on, I mean, I'm pretty certain in a residential zone, 50 feet is the setback.
We can look at the email in here. I'd asked from Alaska Game and Fish, and they said, just follow Borough Code. We deal with if it's in the water. Like if they didn't have a setback. It's in here
I mean, I deal with setbacks on, or riparian zones in forest applications or forest practices applications all the time, and it's 66 feet for that. You can't cut a tree. Then the machine can't be within, a machine's not supposed to be within 100 feet. So it's supposed to be able to reach in, and 40 feet is pretty darn close.
Commissioner Cross, you and I know each other a long time, but if I may offer, it may have a lot to do with SWIP, like the Soil Water Protection Act, that they don't allow logging that close. Having a shop where it's built, ready to go it may be, I'm speculating, but from what I know on the Game and Fish, they had no setback. The person in charge of habitat for the Game and Fish.
I know
and acreage.
Megan Marie, so.
it also appears that, Mr. Sabrell, you said it's not in the riparian zone according to the U.S. Fish and Wildlife map. Is that correct?
Correct.
I mean, the map may need to be updated, as far as interpretation of what is a riparian zone and the river moving around, but if, it's hard to, if the map is the map and published by a government source, they are the authority.
Right.
They are the authority.
And as you saw in that email from the Brown brought up, thank you, they recommend 25 feet.
Thank you, Chris.
I know how that streams of that type move, and I just can see that a big runoff. What could happen this year? Because, there's a lot of snow packed into the hills this year. And you could get, that stream could move 20 feet easily in a season. The second question, have you considered, that's a big hill, but by my standards, it's not much of a hill to build a road down. Have you considered, that would put an end to all the access questions and.
I don't believe I can get a road at the grade suitable that I can get a boat down there. If it became a wood shop and I needed to get a 4x4 truck or a side-by-side down there, I think, yeah, we could make that work. But as it stands, I have a great access right now. It's nice, flat, level, and great. I have permission from the Coast Guard. The Coast Guard doesn't care that I use it. The only hurdles I see are, quite honestly, in this room about access to that road or not. The road that's there has been there since, like I said, World War II, and it hasn't washed out since World War II. Agreed, anything could happen. A stream could move 40 feet over the course of time, but it's been there since World War II, so it's indicative that it's likely not to move soon. And on that road, it's flat, level, and has had access for the last 90 years.
Thank you.
Any other questions or discussion? So I see a couple things that I see a little bit of conflict here, and I appreciate Mr. Sabrell's things he's brought forward here. If we're asking the applicant, well, number one, some of these things should be handled with the zoning compliance permit process. They should not be handled at the commission level. I believe that the commission will set forth some conditions, but the actual checks and balance of that should be done when the applicant actually applies for the zoning compliance permit to build the shop. His application for this conditional use permit is just to use it. The actual boots on the ground, rubber meeting the road is going to come with the zoning compliance permit that staff's going to approve. Like I said, some of these are things that seem to be in conflict, number 1 and number 7. If he's required to have walking access and driveway access, that seems like a possibly redundancy. So maybe removing number 1 would be an idea. Also, again, as the applicant has pointed out, some of these confirmations or approvals by some of these departments that are listed here may not be the right departments. So that may be something we clarify. And so, what's the desire of the commission? Staff.
So for number 1, the CUP follows the land.
Mm-hmm.
So that would be something that you would decide here for the CUP, because that would follow the land. That wouldn't be in zoning compliance.
So let me clarify that. We're actually doing a CUP for a conditional use permit for a detached accessory dwelling unit. So we're not modifying the land rights. We're saying you can use your land for this one right, and that's to build this detached accessory dwelling unit. You're right in the fact that ownership of that ADU will go into perpetuity. But we're just approving, we're not approving the potential sale of the land, we're just approving the use of the land for this one particular thing. Unlike the previous case where we were asked to approve a rezone that could allow anything. Go ahead, Seema. If there's anything, other things. Chris?
And as a reminder, if I understand this correct, my request is for the ADU, and people can come and go and walk from the ADU. The shop, I don't believe access to the shop is part of the conditional use permit. So what we're really asking is, can people come and go for an ADU, is what I understand.
Yeah.
Right, because again, I'll ask staff to make sure that I'm saying the right thing. The CUP is for the detached ADU, and as defined by code. It's not for a detached shop.
Correct.
He could build a detached shop without a CUP. You could do it over the counter if it met the requirements. The detached ADU is what requires his presence here today. Go ahead, Court.
Yeah, I agree with Chair Van Dyke on this one. That makes a lot of sense. That was kind of that was part of my apprehension coming from that number one anyways. If we just drop that, throw that out, then we're not presuming on anybody, future, past, present, or future, that access. And I think it covers that. I think that's a very good recommendation. Anyways.
So you're saying to drop asking for an ADU and just build a shop, no ADU?
What I was pointing out was that just number one, providing the evidence of access, that's not something that you would have to provide if he was just building a shop on the property. The fact that he's here asking to build an ADU requires him to be here present in front of us asking permission to build a residential unit in essentially the same footprint that he could just build a shop for and not ask us permission. But to staff's recommendation about number 7, providing walking access to the ADU for use of the ADU, that asking for walking access and asking for driving access in number 1, there is a redundancy there. And so if the applicant provided walking access in number 7, would they still need to provide driving access by the view of this commission? Mr. Cross.
In arguing for this, there are many places, and I've looked at some of them many years ago when we were buying a place. There are many homes in this community that have much poorer walking access. I mean, if you had to carry a litter with an injured person, than this presents. I mean, I'll grant you that, Mr. Sibrel. But so what we're coming down to here is if we move to approve the issuance of a conditional use permit to allow the detached ADU, and then we require the applicant to meet all these conditions, by default, we've denied it, most in practical terms. So we're going to have to, I believe, if we, in our heads, if we're willing to vote to approve this, then we're going to have to make we're going to have to strike those ones that are hurdles he'll never get over.
And I would entertain a motion to amend the motion to approve.
I'll make a motion to amend the recommendation or the motion to delete item number 1. I think we should do them one at a time, consider them one at a time if we're going to go down that route.
I'd entertain that. Is there a second?
Second. I second that.
All right. Any questions or discussion on the motion to amend by striking item number 1? All right, we'll take a roll call vote.
Mr. Neff?
Yes.
Mr. Paulson?
I abstain.
Oh,
It's okay.
Mr. Cross?
Yes.
Mr. Van Dyke?
Yes.
And Ms. Johnson?
Yes.
Anyone want to change their vote?
All right.
Motion passes 4-0.
Thank you. Good, Mr. Cross.
Madam, I might also make the observation, if anyone, since there's only 4 of us voting, I believe this is correct, it only takes one person voting against it to sink it. I'm just saying that. I'm not trying to, so.
You can count.
I've been
And I
there,
appreciate
I've been
that.
there and done it.
You can count. I appreciate that. That's why I want to move slowly through this, so we're clear as well.
So the Corps of Engineers, in their letter, said that they will not, they don't address potential, they don't, their crystal ball isn't good enough to look into the future and determine what's going to happen there. So I would make a motion to delete the item number 2, condition number 2, in the original a motion to approve the issuance of a conditional use permit.
All right, there's a motion. Is there a second? All right, you want to turn your mic on?
I'll second.
Thank you, Mr. Cross. Thank you, Ms. Johnson. Any questions or discussion on that? All right, roll call vote.
Mr. Cross?
Yes.
Mr. Van Dyke?
Yes.
Ms. Johnson?
Yes.
And Mr. Neff?
Yes.
Would anyone like to change their vote? Motion passes 4-0.
Thank you.
I would further make a motion to the original, or
Amendment.
amend the original motion to strike condition number 3, that the Alaska Department of Fish and Game provide written approval regarding South Russian Creek and its anadromous, as an anadromous stream.
All right, is there a second?
I second that.
All right. Discussion? Take a roll call vote.
Mr. Van Dyke?
Yes.
Ms. Johnson?
Yes.
Mr. Neff?
Yes.
Mr. Cross?
Yes.
Would anyone like to change their vote? Motion passes 4-0.
Number 4, I think it's kind of tied to number 3.
Well, I think we also heard from the applicant that the riparian areas are determined by the Army Corps of Engineers.
Exactly.
So,
Yeah. Make a motion to amend, I make a motion to amend the original recommendation to strike condition number 4.
is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. Roll call vote?
Ms. Johnson?
Yes.
Mr. Neff?
Yes.
Mr. Cross?
Yes.
Mr. Van Dyke?
Yes.
Would anyone like to change the vote? Motion passes 4-0.
And I think we've already determined that the Coast Guard is not going to, they're not going to issue permission beyond 5 years. They're not going to give permission for what's involved in condition number 5. So again, by default, if we don't strike that, then essentially we can't approve it. So make a motion to amend the original motion to strike condition number 5.
All right, is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. Roll call vote?
Mr. Neff?
Yes.
Mr. Cross?
Yes.
Mr. Van Dyke?
Yes.
Ms. Johnson?
Yes.
Would anyone like to change the vote? Motion passes 4-0.
Thank you.
Now, with respect to number 6, didn't we, can you bring up Conrad's reply again? If somebody who has a lot more experience in this, tell me, but if a fire broke out in that building, it can be fought by string and hose down that hill, I believe.
Yeah.
It's not going to be as effective, but it would be no worse than any number of buildings that are presently in Kodiak. Now, if there's somebody that has resistance to striking this one, let me know, so, because I'm in Linnea.
I'm just looking at this case
You
and
turn your mic
knowing
on.
how challenging the
Go ahead,
flats.
Chris.
Oh, sorry. Looking at this case and just seeing how challenging the flats are, I don't know, with some of these new construction, and his lot's less challenging when they submit their plans to get a permit. Is it ever recommended that that a homeowner implement a fire suppression system? Because if the roads are really challenging and the truck might not even be able to get out there, which has nothing to do with their lot, I don't know. Just a thought. It's just a thought that's going through my mind. Because I mean, some of those properties out there, a fire truck can't even get to. You could. I know a fire suppression system would be very expensive, but I don't know. It's just my comment. I don't know if that's something that can be.
Well, I'll make a motion to amend the original motion to strike the conditional use or the condition of approval number 6.
All right, is there a second?
I second that.
Okay. Roll call vote?
Mr. Cross?
Yes.
Mr. Van Dyke?
Yes.
Ms. Johnson?
Yes.
Mr. Neff?
Yes.
Would anyone like to change the vote? Motion passes 4-0.
All right.
And as far as I'm concerned, 7 and 8 should stand as they are written.
All right. Any other discussion? Go ahead, Court.
I can't remember. I was going to say something. I can't remember what it was. Oh, yeah, I don't remember now. Yeah, I'm a ex-fishing game employee, so, you know, I did previously have a lot of concerns with the setbacks and the erosion potential, but I am vaguely familiar with that road. It has been there for a long time, and things haven't really been affected for a long time there in that area, so that, I mean, actually is a moot point in that the official agencies seem to be giving him the green light as far as setbacks, that they aren't concerned at this point. So I feel we might be overstepping and just kind of getting into personal preferences if we look at that, as much as it does bother me sometimes to see our stream issues, and actually knowing that there is one in the flats already. I tend to be able to let that part go. That's all I had to say.
Thank you, Court. If there's no further discussion, we'll call.
I'll make one. Can I make a comment?
Absolutely.
For the record?
Yes.
For the record, if I owned that property, Mr. Sibrel, I don't think I would make the investment you're willing to make in that without access from the existing property, and because of the location of that building to the river. I mean, I might run into you 5 years from now, and you might say you were right or I was wrong, but there's a high probability that you'll be fighting that stream coming into your shop at some point. So I'd just like to put that on the record, that we did consider that, but we decided that that's a personal opinion and doesn't fall within the guidelines of the code.
All right, thank you.
I do appreciate that, thank you.
All right, we'll call, roll call vote on the amended motion.
Ms. Johnson?
Yes.
Mr. Neff?
Yes.
Mr. Cross?
Yes.
Mr. Van Dyke?
Yes.
Would anyone like to change their motion? Vote? Motion passes 4-0.
Thank you very much. All right, we will move on to old business, case number S21-010, Cooperana Shores subdivision. Staff? Is there much there?
All that was just an FYI for you guys to see that the conditions for the archaeological survey were completed. Lots were taken out of being able to be sold, and they met the condition and they can file for final plat.
Excellent, thank you. Any questions for staff on that? All right, seeing hearing none, we'll move on. There's no new business. Planning and zoning case result letters. We have the postponement memo. Commentary on that?
That was for the one that we're hearing tonight that we postponed again. So.
Yeah, right. Okay. No abbreviated final plat approvals. Director's comments.
So there's a possibility that we won't have a May meeting, but I think I am going to bring before you guys changing the code for 17-175-50 to maybe just shorten the time period, allow it, but for a certain amount of time instead of saying it can go on for all eternity, just so that we can avoid some things and hurt feelings and misunderstandings. So that might be the only thing on there. There are no applicants that, so no cases will be heard. We might just have a string of changes, zoning changes that we'll take before the assembly if you guys approve them.
Thank you, Court. Question?
Yeah, Seema, I forgot you mentioned something else that I thought was a really good point in the code about the parking issue, trying to make that a little more specific about the adjoining, the way the code's written, you can get away with just saying, oh, I got a lot over here, I own that too, so I don't have to comply with parking.
That's the one that I was talking about.
That is the one you're talking about?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
She just referenced it by the code section.
Say, good girl.
Chapter and verse.
Coded me out, you did. You got me.
Good job. All right, citizen comments. All right, then we'll move to commissioner comments. Mr. Cross.
Yeah, I would like to thank SEMA and Bronwyn for what the staff for the work they did, because there's a considerable amount of work in these.
Thank you.
And I thought, I really appreciate Commissioner Paulson's integrity. That's nice to see. And I thought there was a lot of meat in this menu tonight, and I thought we did a pretty good job on it. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr.
staff.
Cross. Thank you. Ms. Johnson.
No, I'm just learning a lot and going through your case too. That was really interesting. That's my comment.
Thank you. Mr. Neff.
Yeah, I just want to say, I've been really feeling the responsibility as a commissioner lately a lot more, and I just want people to know that the buck stops with us. You know, you really can't fault these guys doing their job. Nobody can really, please give them grace, because we're the ones, really. It stops with us, and I have to say that, you know, I've fallen short with communicating with SEMA. I want to I want to commit to trying to get some time to come in during your workday and just discuss a few things, but different stuff. And this common sense thing, I'm really feeling there's a place for that. And it's hard to work it in there, and I'm not saying you're lacking, I'm not accusing you, but I'm looking at the availability of lots. That's been a big issue with people for affordable housing and things like that. And I don't know if this is true or not, or if this is a good example. And if I'm saying something I shouldn't be saying, stop me, please. But I understand there was a 60-lot plat we were going to maybe look at. And I just heard through the grapevine, I don't know if this is true or not, but just use it as an example. Don't take it as fact, that there was kind of a problem with the access, that there was only one road going in. And I'm going, wow, that's really what shut down 60 potential lots. And I'm going, well, look at South Russian Creek Road in the flats. There's one road there that goes all the way in. We have one little residential road. It's very slow speed. You're not going to be a 10-car pileup. It's going to totally block it up. What could stop access from that one road? And I'm just wondering what leeway we have in variances and conditional use permits that we aren't using, if they are there and stuff. But to me, as common sense says, if we did do that, you know, if that's what, that maybe that would be an area that we could look at. Does it really apply? Because the laws aren't made so everybody has to obey them. They're made to give the community what they need. And right now, the community needs housing, and we do need safety, of course, and safe access. But sometimes it just takes a little bit of, is that really hindered because it violates the code or not? Just my philosophy that I want to start looking at things a little bit more that way. And like I said, I want to commit to talking to you, Seema, and seeing maybe you got a lot more take would modify me in a lot of these areas. And I appreciate you're doing your job the best you can from what you pick up from us. I realize you do respect us and you do place us and means a lot. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Neff. Mr. Paulson.
I really appreciate Commissioner Neff's comments. I agree. I think it starts with really the comprehensive plan. It is about what the community wants, and that's where it starts, and that's how we take our guidance. You know, it's been 15 years since that was updated. So I don't know if that's a process. I don't know how that process starts. But, you know, we spend 2 nights a month doing this, and your average citizen doesn't really interact with the code that much otherwise, so it's just all a bunch of complicated stuff to them, and they don't necessarily know how to navigate it, and so they just take whatever the community development department says, and, you know, coming up before the commission, I assume, could be scary for someone. So as long as we can minimize that kind of, you know, bureaucracy, I guess, make it a little easier for people to do things that would improve the community. That's all I have.
Thank you, Mr. Paulson. I want to start by thanking the commission for you guys working through this tonight. And as Mr. Cross said, there was a lot of meaty things, and so I appreciate everybody's engagement and involvement, as well as Mr. Paulson's integrity to not be engaged and involved. And appreciate staff. As Mr. Neff said, see, I get to go last, so I get to cherry pick from every one of you guys' comments. I appreciate staff's reports and trying to get us timely information to make good decisions. And unfortunately, if applicants are not participatory in that, then we do spend more time discussing things up here. But I think we did a really good job discussing those things today. And lastly, just thank our applicants for giving us some cases to chew on and discuss. With that, I would I'll make announcements from the chair, I guess. Next work session is on May 10th, 2023, and the next regular meeting is May 17th, 2023, here in the Assembly Chambers. I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
Tentative meeting.
Make a motion to adjourn the Planning and Zoning regular meeting of April the 18th,
Second.
19th, 2023.
Second.
Moved, seconded. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Good night. Thank you.